This conference will now be recorded.
So once again, welcome everybody for the session on Tally. So today it's our first session on the program of Tally. So discussing about this Tally software, what it is about, uh, what is the program about, what is the requisite for a Tally software, right? So of course, I would give a small, an insight into the Tally software, and then we could start up the session, right? So when it comes to the Tally software, what kind of a software it is and what is its basic requirement. Okay, so here of course I had shared the screen of the basics of accountancy. So which means that the accountancy basics is very much essential for the execution of Tally Prime software. Okay, so but what kind of accountancy basics? Now we would have covered so many areas of accounting, right? We have financial, we have cost accounting, management accounting. So we have different areas of account specialization. But to learn the Tally Prime software, okay, we only require the basics of accountancy. Now basics everybody know, okay, what is a debit, credit, so how do we pass the entries. But in Tally we make a proper execution of the entries by using these accountancy basics. So here lies the mystery, that how do we make use of it, what is supportive of the Tally Prime software. So all this would come into picture provided we have a strong sense of the basics of accountancy. Okay, so we will just cover a small, a discussion covering n number of concepts, areas of accountancy, which are more or less related with the Tally software. So as I told, what is the basic requirement of Tally software? It is nothing but my accountancy knowledge. So how sound I am in the accountancy knowledge, how good I am, will prove me that how well I can access the Tally software. Yes. So the backbone, I can say, of a Tally Prime software is accountancy. So here in the basics of accountancy, so basically, the idea or the question comes: is it really required for us, all of us, to maintain accounts? Is it an essential? Without maintaining accounts, also, can we survive? The question lies there. Yes. So everybody have done accounting, debit and credit aspect. Yes, but beforehand, is accounting really a requirement? Should we maintain? Yes. Why? It becomes essential for a business owner to keep a record of the business income and expenditure. Yes. So if you take a small, a tea stall to a large multinational company, everybody maintains their books of accounts. Yes. So in a small tea store also, he will make a note, like how much expenses okay he has incurred, or how much income he has received for a day, and for the entire week what is his profit, or for the entire day what is his profit. Same thing goes with a large multinational company or government. Everywhere you see accountancy is the base. So here, what is the process of accountancy? How do we go about it? We record the transactions, whether it's a sale, purchase, whatsoever it is. But how do we go with the process of accountancy? First of all, we identify the business transactions. Yes, most important analysis is required. What kind of a transaction? Is it an expense based, an income based, it's a purchase based, sale based? How it is? So it involves identifying the business transactions, then of course recording them, right? So once we identify the transactions, we have to record them. And how do we record them? Question lies there. Now if we take a particular activity, a particular transaction, right? So we have so many details: the date of the transaction, the value of the goods or services involved, the tax amount involved, and we have so many details, description of the goods, so all this. So which are the details, or which is the information which is required to be captured and recorded as the accounting aspect? That's important for us. So for that we have to summarize. So summarizing them in such a way that important financial information can be communicated to the stakeholders. So we maintain accounts not only for our sake in the sense for the company's sake, but also we maintain accounts so as to give a clarity to our third parties, yes, to our stakeholders. So third parties we define them in general terms, but as stakeholders we define them in financial terms, in the accountancy terms. So all these stakeholders are more or less associated with our company, so either directly or indirectly, yes. So for example, have given here as suppliers, the customers, the employees, competitors, the investors, etc. So all these, and we have a huge list rather. So all of them are more or less associated with the company, either directly or indirectly, as I told. Right? They take part in the working. They take part in the conduct of our business organization. So I can say that accountancy is the language of the business. Yes, I think all of us agree with that. Accounting is the language, is the oxygen for the business, is the bloodline for the business. So anyhow, we can define the accountancy. And before proceeding with the next presentation, I just want to ensure with all of you that is the screen clearly visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Right. So next is, as I told, why accounts. First of all, I told to record an income and expenditure, and of course the process. Now these five questions would hold my company in a best position or a better position, I can say. First of all, is to know whether my business is earning profits or incurring losses. I would have a clarity of that provided I maintain accounts. If I don't maintain or don't have the habit of maintaining accounts, I would never know whether I'm earning profits or I'm going for a loss making stage. Next is how much the third parties owe the business and how much the business owes the third parties. This also, about this also the clarity is required, yes or no, that how much the clients or the customers need to pay us and how much we have to pay to our suppliers. So customers are equivalent to sundry debtors in a financial term, and suppliers are equivalent to sundry creditors. The third is, can the business be expanded? Yes. So my next thought, suppose I have opened only, let's say currently I'm having only at one place my business is. My place of business is situated at one place. Now, if I'm earning a huge amount of profits, I'm in a very prosperous stage. What is the next thought which comes to my mind? Anyways, I'm earning reasonable amount of profits. Why don't I open one more branch? Why don't I open one more outlet? Yes. So ultimately, when I stand good, I always decide for the expansion of my business. Can the business be expanded? Yes. Now the reversal of it. Should a specific operation be withdrawn? So let's assume that I'm having so many branches, let's say around 5 to 6 branches. One of the branches is incurring losses or it is not so good stage. So what do? I decide to close down or shut the operations of that particular branch. So all this clarity I can get provided I have a grip of my accountancy in my company's books. The last question: what is the total value of the assets? Obviously, what is the net worth of the company? So how much are the assets? Are the assets more than are the assets worth? Right. So how is the equation between the assets and liabilities? For this also I would get a clarity. So all these questions can be answered provided I maintain my accounts of my business. Of course, all these accounting terminologies we have come across usually, commonly. So, clarity, of course, all of us would have. But as I told, it is small, refreshing round of all these terms which we have come across so far. So, coming off with the accounting terminologies, first of all, we discuss with what is meant by a transaction. Always we keep saying that yes, this is a transaction, that's a purchase transaction, this is a sale transaction, and all that, right? So, all this is there, but most important, what do we mean by transaction? Can we do we use the transaction in a general term or only in business terms? Obviously, in a business terms. We do not use the word, of course, except the banking aspect. We don't use the transaction anywhere else. I would never say, and I know I went to the shop or I went to the mall, I transacted with the vendor, and I got a dress or I purchased, a book. It's not like that. I don't use the word transaction rather. So where do we commonly use or where do we generally use this transaction is in business. Moment we say transaction, it's business, a business activity that involves the transfer of money or money's worth between two accounts. Moment we talk about transaction, it's business, business, money or money's worth. So it's all interlinked, I can say. This transaction literally has two aspects. One we have is this cash, and second we have is the credit. So, what about the cash transaction? Cash transactions have immediate effect. I purchase the goods, I pay the amount, the transaction gets instantly closed, settled. All right, or I sell the goods, I receive the payment immediately. So then and there only it gets settled. And most important, moment I talk of cash, it doesn't mean that we use the hard cash or the the notes over here or the coins. We It can be in any mode. Now all of us go for digital mode of transactions, right? It can be your Google Pay, Phone Pay, or anything, right? So all these we use for making an instant payment, Paytm. So there are modes of cash, I can say modes of instant payment. What about the credit? Credit is nothing but where the money is paid or received later, but the benefits are received immediately. In the sense, I purchase the goods from my supplier, I receive the stock, but I will make the payment at a later date. So, in one single statement, if I have to define what is a credit transaction is when at the time of purchase or at the time of sale, where no payment or receipt of money is involved, it is defined as a credit transaction. So there is no instant or immediate payment or receipt, it is made at a later stage. Okay, so that is called as a credit transaction. So, so here we have a clarity of what is transaction and what's a cash and a credit transaction. The next we have is purchases. Now, of course, what do we know or what do we mean by purchases? Obviously, the amount of goods which are bought by a business for further use or for the purpose of resale. Now, whenever we are making a purchase of any product or any commodity, I have given here for further use or for the purpose of reselling. Reselling means what? I purchase from a distributor, I would sell to a retailer or a wholesaler, like just a resale, or to a customer. Now, what do we mean by the term when I'm purchasing for further use? What does it signify? Further use means for what purpose? If I'm purchasing any commodity, so further use signifies what here? Further use signifies nothing but for further processing, for further manufacturing. So, nothing but when I'm purchasing the raw materials and I'm using it for further manufacturing, for further processing, it is nothing but further use. And again, for purchases, we have this cash based and credit based purchases. Same. How I discussed about the transaction that we have cash and credit, the same example. When I purchase the goods and when I immediately make the payment, it's a cash purchase. And again, for a credit, when I pay at a later date to the supplier, I go for a credit purchase. Next, we have, of course, is a purchase return. Now, purchase return is nothing but whatever purchase of stock, whatever purchase of goods we have done, okay, but it has been returned back to the seller or a supplier before the consumption on account of various reasons like poor quality, damage, not as per the buyer's specifications. On all these grounds, if I'm returning the goods, right, it is defined as a purchase return. So I have given here three reasons. Poor quality. It is not of a good quality. It is of an inferior quality. Okay. Would I keep the stock with myself? No. I will return it back. Second, damage. I find a small hole, or suppose if I'm purchasing any book, the pages are torn, or a dress material I've torn, I find a small hole, or some color, fades. So all these things, or not as per the buyer specification. Now, if I'm, ordering or booking online, a nice kurti, you know, let's say a black one, but I receive a bright red, so I don't like that color. But still, would I keep it to myself? No, anyways, yes, come and deliver online. Let me keep it to myself. Of course, if the color, if you feel is good, perhaps you might. Otherwise, if you're dead against it, no, this is not the color I've ordered. So what do? You return it back. Why? It is not as per the buyer's specification. So these are the grounds on which we return the goods back to the seller or back to the supplier of stock, and that is defined as purchase return. The next we go is for a sale. Sale and sales returns almost the same. Sale is nothing but, of course, whatever stocks that have been sold out by the business is defined as sales. And again, we have two stanza on sales. It is a cash sale, and second we have is a credit sale. So if we talk about a cash sale, the same thing. I would have sold the goods and then I received the payment immediately. Of course, it is a cash. Coming to a credit, when I receive the payment at a later date from my client or customer, I go for a credit sale. The next one we have is a sales return. So what is a sales return is how the reasons are there for a purchase return, probably the same reasons, or if any additional reasons are there, that can also hold. So, say goods that have been sold but returned by the buyer here. Then it was returned back to the supplier, here returned by the buyer before the consumption on account of various reasons like poor quality, the damage, not as per the buyer's specifications. On all these grounds, of course, when we return the goods back, or when the buyer returns the goods back to the seller, it becomes a sales return. Okay, so we have discussed with the transaction, the purchase return, sales and sales returns, and now the most important aspect, that is debtor, creditor, stock, and revenue. Okay. Now here, when we talk about the debit, credit, and stock revenue, basically who is the debtor? As I told, customer client is equivalent to a sundry debtor, and a supplier is equivalent to a sundry creditor. So, a debtor, a person who receives the benefits from the business immediately but is obliged to pay at a future date. So, when I make a sale of goods, he receives the stock, he receives the goods, so he receives the benefit, but he is obliged to pay at a future date, which means what? At the time of sale, I don't receive the payment immediately. Company does not receive the payment immediately, and that becomes a credit sale is equivalent to sundry debtor. Who is a creditor? Of course, a person who provides the benefits without receiving immediate payment for the same, and who will claim the payment in future. So, as I told, credit purchases. When I purchase the stock from my supplier, I don't make the payment immediately. I, in the sense, the company, and at a future date, when I make payment to my supplier, that supplier is defined as a salary creditor in my company's books of accounts. The next one we have is the stock. Moment we talk about the stock, obviously, we have actually three phases of stock. Here are listed two, and the third one, of course, we have in the between. Now, stock refers the unsold. Unsold means what? The finished goods, which are yet to be sold. Then it is raw material. Of course, raw material which are used for further manufacturing, further processing. So, what is the in between here? We have the raw materials, the end product is finished goods, the in between also is a stock, which is work in progress, right? So that's also part of the stock aspect, which lie with the business and are collectively known as stock. Now, the ultimate, the requirement, the primary objective of my company is what? The earnings, revenue, profit. Yeah. So, earnings of a business through its activities and operations, of course, are defined as revenue. So ultimately, I make a purchase, then I make a sale, I incur so many expenses, I receive incomes. Finally, what is my sole objective? I cannot say exactly so, but primary objective is to earn profits, revenue for my business, and that is revenue segment. So I hope all the accounting terminologies are clear for all of you. So once we are done with the accounting terminologies, we can move on for the next set of accounts is assumptions. Okay. So before discussing these assumptions, first of all, what do we mean by the term assumptions? Assumption means assume. It's understood, right? So someone need not communicate, fine, this is the situation, this is the case. It is well understood, right? So, assumption. Here, in a company, also, in every business, accounting assumptions are followed. Now, which are they? We have four accounting assumptions. We have accounting entity assumption, we have accounting period assumption, we have going concern assumption, we have the money measurement assumption. So first of all, I've listed here only two. That is accounting entity assumption and accounting period assumption. Now, what is this accounting entity assumption? Very simple. I'll give an example of a family business. Okay. Now, let's say your family is running a business for all these years. It can be garments, it can be anything, furniture business, it can be a departmental store. Okay, so your family is running a business for so many years. Now, whatever the business is being run by a family, from that they earn good amount of profits, and from the profits they are able to construct a house or purchase a house, right? They're able to buy a car for their personal use, for their occupation house, if I talk about. Now, whatever cost they would incur for the construction of the house or for the purchase of a car, can it find a place in the business books of accounts? No. Though it's the business run by the family, though the profits are earned by your family, everything is fine. But out of the profits earned, when some assets or when anything, it can be not only assets, even any commodities purchased for a personal use, it doesn't find a place in a company's books and accounts. Reason is simple: owner and the entity are two separate entities. Now, for running the same business, let's say I make a purchase. I, in the sense, the company makes a purchase of some, materials, right? Of any, I can say, stationaries. Okay, and the amount is very meager, very small. Can the company ignore it? Can business ignore it? No. Why? It is meant for the business use. So even though I spent 10 rupee or 100 rupee for the purpose of business, I have to record in the company's books whatever I've spent for the personal use. It should not be recorded. So the business and proprietor are treated as two separate entities. Business transactions are separate from the owner's personal transactions. In other words, only business transactions are recorded. Okay, sorry, there was a small break. Right. So here we have is going concern and money measurement. Sorry, we have the accounting entity assumption. So as I told, the business and proprietor are treated as two separate entities. Business transactions are separate from the owners. Personal transactions, in other words, only business transactions are recorded. So there is no place for the personal activities, for the personal transactions in the company's books. Second, we have this the accounting period assumption. Now all of us know that the company's books of accounts are opened on 1st of April of every year and closed by 31st of March of the next year, the succeeding year. Yes? Why do we follow that? What is the main intention behind that? If I keep on recording the transactions, keep on making an entries, do I get a clarity whether I'm earning profits or incurring loss? What is happening in my business? Do I get a proper picture of that? Never. Only when I'm balanced out by the end of the year, okay, and I cut out all my expenses out of my incomes, I would know that am I earning profits or am going for a loss making stage, right? And also, if I close my books of accounts at regular intervals of time, I can also compare, most important, my financial statements of the current year with that of the previous year. I can easily analyze the graph comparatively to the previous year. In this year, I'm in which position? Favorable, not favorable, or the worst position. So that's why accounting period assumption is essential for a business to close its books of accounts at regular intervals of time. And I've given an example here, Jan to December, and we have April to March. Okay, so Jan to December is called as what? It's nothing but calendar year, and April to March it is a financial year. So now calendar year is rarely used. Rather, I can say calendar use is not that much, but all of us, 99.9%, we go for the financial year. Okay, so this is the accounting period assumption. Now the question lies when we talk about the accounting period assumption. Here we have calendar year, we have financial year. But what about those ages where they were neither of them, neither financial nor calendar? How they used to balance the accounts, tally them, prepare the financial statements. Simple. From this Christmas to next Christmas, yeah, from this Diwali to next year Diwali. So it's like 1 year, right? So like this, they used to prepare their company's books of accounts. So from then on, it is there that we close our books of accounts at regular intervals of time. The next two assumptions we have is the going concern assumption and money measurement assumption. So what is this going concern say? Now, as I gave an example of a family business, right? So this family business would have started by your grandfather. It would be run for so many years. Now, your grandfather would not be in a position to run the business, so it will be carried over by your father or by your uncle, whoever is in charge of the same. Now, your father would carry over the business, run the family business for all the years in future too, but at one stage when your father would be very old, when he is not able to handle the business, it is assumed that it will be carried over by you or your brother, whoever it is inside. So it will be succeeded, right? I mean, the business will be succeeded from the grandpa, the father, and finally the son or the daughter. So we have so many classic examples. If you take the Tatas, you have the Reliance, yes or no? So if you go for the Reliance, it was started by Dhirubhai Ambani, now succeeded by Mukesh Anil, and after them, of course, now only the kids are a part of that. That's Akash, Shloka, and all that. So next it will be succeeded by the kids. So the succession goes on. So it is not assumed that just because the founder or the proprietor is no more or he's not able to handle business, the business will be brought to an end. For sure not. So it is assumed that the entity will exist for a longer period of time. Yes. Accordingly, the accounts will be maintained with the assumption of not to close the operations of the business at a future date. Yeah. So the next and the final assumption we have is the money measurement assumption. So what does this money measurement assumption say? Whatever can be expressed in terms of money can only be recorded. Now, it can be a meager amount, it can be a huge amount. What is spent, what is meant for the business will find a place. Suppose I am providing my services free of cost, free of charge to one of my friends or to one of my relatives. I don't charge them a single rupee. Can it find a place in my company's books? No, never. Why? There is no consideration involved. Right? So such transactions don't find a place in our company's books. Only those which can be quantified in terms of money can only be recorded. So that's why I've given here. Only those business transactions that can be measured in terms of money are recorded. Employee satisfaction is not expressed in monetary terms, hence it is not recorded. What this employee satisfaction would convey is you would have been placed in a very good company, okay, and you have worked for a couple of months, you're not okay with the work, or you feel there is a burden, work pressure, would the company take care about that, or would the company record the same? Oh, she's pressurized with the work. No, rather, you one day you decide to relieve from that particular job. You give the resignation letter. So, what is the last salary affected or given by the company to you? That could find a place in the company's books. So there is no, record of your work pressure or your burden. Yes. So money measurement assumptions. So far we have covered four accounting assumptions. We have accounting entity, accounting period assumption, going concern assumption, and we have the money measurement assumption. The next we have is the accounting concepts. Now, assumptions are one set. Okay. After assumptions, we have the concepts. These assumptions, concepts, principles are kind of a daily routine or a process to be followed by each and every business entity. So, under accounting concepts, the first one we have is the accrual concept. What do we mean by accrual? What does it signify? Accrual says, moment any transaction takes place, that must be recorded immediately. And here, what does it signify? This has a special, discussion on the credit-based transactions. Suppose you have purchased the stock from one of your suppliers, on a credit base, you wouldn't have recorded it that you have purchased, let's say, worth 10,000 rupees. So you don't find a place, you don't record it. So what happens? The supplier would wait for a couple of days or for 1 month or 2 months. There is no payment from your side. Would he supply the stock or would he continue to supply the stock? Never. He will not do that because once trust is broken, again he is not going to supply the stock anymore. So what happens is, moment I purchase the stock from my supplier, I have to record it instantly. Then later on, when I make the payment to the supplier, again I make a entry for the same that I have made a payment to the supplier. But moment any activity takes place that has to find place in the company's books of accounts, irrespective of the fact that the actual payment is received or payment is made. That's only accrual concept. Transactions are recorded on the basis of income earned or expenses incurred, irrespective of the actual receipt or actual payment, and that is only accrual concept. The next one we have is the dual aspect concept. So what does this dual aspect means? What does it signify? Before discussing the dual aspect concept, all have come across one system of bookkeeping, that is a double entry system of bookkeeping. Yes. What does it mean? That every transaction has two aspects, the debit and the credit. Now, where was this double entry system of bookkeeping came up or evolved? What is the foundation for the same? It is nothing but the dual aspect concepts. So the dual aspect concept formed the basis for the evolution of double entry system of bookkeeping. So what does dual aspect concept convey? Every financial transaction has two aspects, where the business receives the benefit and where the business provides the benefit. Yeah, we usually say in a double entry, which I will show you in the upcoming slides, that we always debit the receiving aspect and we credit the giving aspect. For every entry, for every journal entry, if you can just analyze, we go for it. We debit the receiving aspect and we credit the giving aspect. The next one we have is a full disclosure concept. We have a historical cost. We have the verifiable and the objective evidence concept. So, if I talk about the full disclosure concept, what does it mean? Full disclosure concept conveys that it explains that the financial records of a business concern give a true and a fair view of the firm's financial position. So, which means whatever transaction takes place in my business, I have to give a clarity of the same. I should not resort to window dressing of my financial statements. Now, the question comes, what is meant by the window dressing? It is nothing but manipulation of the accounting entries. So, what happens? There will be a profit, actual profit earned, let's say around 10 lakhs of profit, but in the balance sheet, in the P&L profit and loss account, I would convey that I've had huge amount of profits. So the 10 lakhs becomes 10 crores, like that. So one zero, and in addition. So what happens? I will go for the manipulation of the entries. Of course, in a short run, the business would earn profits, but in the long run, what would happen? What can happen in the long run? Obviously, the business would go for a loss, or probably the business only would shut down. So, all these things can happen. So, we have to give a true and fair view of the firm's financial position to avoid such kind of problems for the business. Historical cost says that this states that the assets shall be recorded at the same value at which they have been acquired for and not at the current market value. Most important, before discussing the historical cost concept, this particular concept is only applicable for few assets, not for all, because we have a widened category of the assets. But this historical cost concept is not applicable for all the assets. Why is, if we talk about the assets like jewelry, land and building, now jewelry, land and building, all these assets, they are always subject to appreciation and not a depreciation. So probably when your father or when your grandpa had, purchased a plot of land or a site of very long, so many years back, it would have costed around, a couple of lakhs. Now, when you plan to sell the same, can you quote the same amount? No. Yes. So what happens is the same amount can't be taken. Rather, the current market value will be taken, right? But if I talk about the motor vehicles, furnitures, fixtures, all such kind of an assets, we we have to resort to the cost of purchase, or we can say the historical cost, the book value, the carrying amount, all mean the same. So that would be considered not the current market value. We have less depreciation obviously, but what is the value to be taken? The cost of purchase. So this states that the assets shall be recorded at the same value at which they have been acquired for and not at the current market value. So as I told, this particular historical cost concept is only applicable for the assets, a few assets, and not like those assets which are subject to appreciation alone, that is land and building and jewelry. The last one we have is the verifiable and the objective evidence concept. Before we move on to the next set of concepts, what is this verifiable and the objective evidence? The word seems to be very elaborative, but meaning is extremely simpler. That whatever transaction takes place in a business, all have to be supported with the documentary evidence. Now, if we take the small example, if I'm traveling in a metro, I need the metro card, right? Or at least the coin if I'm going for it, right? The ticket. If I have to watch a movie, the ticket. So if I have to visit an amusement park, again a ticket. Or if I have to, get a seat in a college, the fee receipt. So, without any documentary evidence, no transaction would be processed, and is nothing but verifiable and objective evidence that all financial transactions must be supported with a documentary evidence. And without that, there is no proof that this particular transaction has taken place. Right? The last two we have under accounting concepts. We have the matching concept and we have the revenue realization concept. So what do we mean by this matching concept? What does it signify? So matching concept, it states that the revenue earned and the cost incurred to earn such revenue need to belong to the same period and hence they need to be matched. Which means what? Let's take an example. In the previous financial year, that is 20 and 21, 1st of April 22, 31st of March 21, all the expenses and incomes will be recorded. But one expense would not be recorded. Probably it can be by mistake or omitted, whatever the reason can be. That particular expense would not be recorded in the previous year, which belongs to 20 to 21. Now, can I record in this current financial year, that is 21 and 22? No. Previous year's incomes previous year expenses which are actually received or which are actually paid have to find place in the previous year itself. The current year expenses, the current year incomes will find a place in the current year itself. So they will not be carried forward to the next financial years, which means pertaining to the year to which it belongs to, it has to be recorded in the same year. It should not be mixed or rather overlapped with the next year. So that is nothing but match. Match means what? I match with the particular financial year. I don't go for the mismatch of any of my expenses and incomes. Except, of course, the outstandings. If we talk about the receivables and payables, that will be carried forward to the next financial year. That is obvious. Apart from that, which are actually received or actually paid, they have to be recorded in the same financial years. Why? Because it helps to ascertain the results of the business operations on a periodical basis. Now, the next we have is revenue realization concept. So, what does this revenue realization concept basically means? This particular concept is the opposite of accrual concept. Now, what does the accrual concept say? Moment any transaction takes place, it must be recorded. Then afterwards, when any payment or receipt is involved, of course, we have to make it another entry. But what does realization concept says is there is no place for the outstanding, rather receivables or payables. Whatever income which is actually received or expenses actually paid, only they find a place in the company's books of accounts. Rather, receivables, payables, any kind of outstandings don't find a place in the company's books. The best example I can take again for the revenue realization is colleges, schools, hospitals, their diagnostic centers, any training institutes. Yes, they don't follow the accrual concept. They follow the revenue realization, right? So, revenue is considered to be income earned on the date on which it is received. Unearned or unrealized revenue will not be taken into account. So that is revenue realization concept under the accounting concepts. So like this, we cover all these accounting concepts. We have accrual concept, we have the dual aspect concept, we have a full disclosure concept, a historical cost concept, verifiable and the objective evidence concept. So I hope it is clear for all of you till here. In case if you have any questions to be asked, you can put up in the chat box or you can unmute yourself, you can raise your question. Anything would be okay. Right. So I assume that until here, whatever I've been discussed, everything is clear for all of you. Okay. So let me proceed with the next set of discussions, that is accounting principles. Yeah. So, like accounting assumptions, we have accounting principles, which are rather four. So, the first one we have is the cost benefit principle. So, what does this cost benefit principle say? It says whatever cost has been incurred for carrying on the business activity, carrying on the business operations, they have to be comparatively lesser than the revenue generated or the profits incurred. Okay, which means cost should be less than the profits earned, and that is cost benefit principle. The cost incurred for applying an accounting principle should be lesser than the profits derived from doing so. The next one we have is the materiality principle. And what does this materiality principle say? This principle says that all the information that is disclosed in the financial statements should help the interested parties in arriving at the decisions. Now, materiality principle and full disclosure concept is almost the same. Both have the same binding, which means that whatever information is disclosed in the financial statements, right? um, this should help the interested parties in arriving at decisions, which means the investors, if they would like to invest in my company, only when I'm having a financial statement which has got a lot of clarity, no loopholes, no manipulation of entries involved, okay, on a trustworthy basis, if this financial report would be there, it would help the investors to take their decisions as to whether or not to invest in this particular company. Same thing goes with the suppliers. If they have to supply to my company, of course, if they have a good review of our company, find everything is in a very good stage, there is a complete clarity, there is no manipulation involved. Of course, they would also have an agreement for the supply of stock to my company. So, like this, who are all are associated or who want to be associated with my company can be associated provided I do give a clarity for them. There is materiality principle. Consistency principle. What does this consistency principle say? That whatever practices, whatever procedures which has been followed by the business should adapt consistency. Frequent changes should not be welcome. Of course, changes are obvious. Changes are welcome for the business. There might be changes with regard to any kind of policies, procedures, or any kind of methodologies. Yes, but frequent changes, as I told, has to be avoided because if that is there, we cannot get an appropriate financial statement of our company. Okay, it'll be full of confusions, no proper information, and we don't have a clarity at all regarding our financial position. So, whatever practices, whatever procedures, or whatever methodologies the companies adopts, it should not be subject to frequency of changes. Rather, be as consistent as possible. That's what I've given here. The accounting practices followed for one financial year should not vary from those of the previous financial years. Consistency in accounting practices facilitates the comparison of financial statements across the years and helps to draw important conclusions about the business. So, as I told, only if I am as far as possible consistent with my business activities, with my accounting procedures, I can easily go for the comparison of my financial statements of the current year with that of the previous years, and I can ascertain the graph. Otherwise, I cannot get a clarity. The last one we have is the prudence or the conservatism principle. So, what does this prudence or the conservatism principle say? First of all, what do we mean by prudence or conservatism? Simple. This prudence or conservatism starts from your home itself. Now, what would happen? All of us are aware, or we would know, that our mother would secretly save some amount of money. Yes, all of us agree with that. What would be the reason behind it? One of you could answer. Why does she do so?
To meet the unseen, maybe any problems or any unseen, um,
Exactly. Huh. So any kind of
Reserve it for
emergencies.
future.
Very good. For future.
unseen
Emergencies. Because
circumstances.
yes, it is unforeseen
Reserve it for
circumstances.
future use.
Yeah. So it's for future use, emergencies, unforeseen circumstances. Because your mother would know suddenly some situation, emergency I would face. This money would be required. Let me secretly save some money. So when your dad asks, your mom says, "No, I don't have money." When you ask, probably, of course, a kid, so a soft corner, probably she'll give you some money, but she'll never say, "Where is the secret hideouts?" Yes, so this is obvious then everybody's house. But what is the main intention behind it? That we have to understand. That on account of emergency, if money is required, that money could be used. Now, of course, we have no better example than this pandemic, right? So, lockdown was there the previous year for long duration, for a couple of months. This year also we had a few months, but it was a short time where also we had the vaccination started. But for the previous year, when I'm talking, there was a long lockdown, right? So that time, of course, there was a financial crisis, financial crunch. Most of them were jobless. So that time, this money plays a crucial role, I would say. It is not only a house, but it is also a company. It is a school. It's a college. They have to run their activities. They have to run their business, even in such tight situations. Of course, most of the businesses had faced a as I told, a financial crunch. They couldn't survive this lockdown, but still, most of them, if they would be wise enough, they could use this money at that particular point of time. That's only prudence or conservatism. Yes. So, which means that uncertain situations do happen in any business. Yeah, we don't know. Suddenly, something, anything can happen. Okay, or contingent may or may not happen. If it happens, we cannot sit and cry. Okay, fine. A business is having the situation. I cannot handle the business. That cannot be there. Pros and cons, as we say, profits and loss are two phases of the same coin. We have to survive in both the situations, right? So, in such situations, what a business does, what a company does, it reserves a small amount of money, or rather a huge amount of money, I can say. Yeah, all of you would be aware of this, right? Provision for bad debts, provision for I can say a depreciation, provision for taxation, right? So we have seen everything. Why is this provision created or reserve created for expenses, for liabilities? Why? To meet up them in future. That's nothing but prudence or conservatism, where uncertainty is involved in the operations of the business. It requires that the business makes provisions for probable losses but operates by anticipating profits. I assume that, yeah, I will earn profits, but would I assume that fine, I will incur losses? He'll be stupid if he assumes like that. In case of losses a company faces, yes, I have to survive as a business owner, right? But I can assume that I can earn profits. So, what is that provision or reserve created for probable losses? That is nothing but prudence or conservatism principle. Okay, so this is extremely important. All the four accounting principles which we have discussed here, we have cost benefit, we have materiality principle, we have consistency principle, we have prudence or conservatism principle. So we have covered accounting assumptions, accounting concepts, accounting principles. All these three, I can say, are the binding for any company. Yes. See, the companies might or might not directly convey that I'm following this assumption, I'm following this concept. It is assumed. Yes. It is there. It is communicated either indirectly or directly. Right? So, next we go for a concept which all of us usually adopt. That is double entry system of bookkeeping. All of us have this practice. We debit one account, we credit another account. But what is the base? What is the reason behind it? How do we go about it? Here lies the discussion. When we go for a double entry system of bookkeeping, we always debit one account and we credit another account. That is the practice. But which is the aspect we debit? That's very important. We always debit the receiving aspect. We always credit the giving aspect. You can test it with any journal entry. You take any simple entry, this aspect is very much executed, which means Every business transaction will have an effect on two accounts. One will be debited and the other will be credited. This is obvious. Here I've given a small example that goods purchased from Ravi for 40,000, assuming that these purchases are made on credit. I've passed this entry here, where purchase account is debited, Ravi's account is credited. If it is a cash purchase, what would be the entry? Purchase account to cash account. Instead of cash, we have this Ravi. Purchase account returned to Ravi's account. So here, if we exhibit or execute the double entry system, what did we say? We debit the receiving aspect. Yes, purchases. We are receiving stock. We are purchasing stock. And what is the credit? The giving aspect. The company has to make payment to Ravi. Credit, the giving aspect. And this only is your double entry system of bookkeeping. Every company, every entity follows. But of course, there are certain business concerns which don't follow this double entry. Okay, so I can give examples of so many, I think, small size, yeah, small size companies or sole proprietors. They might or they might not follow double entry system. Okay, suppose if you go for a shop, nearby to your house or nearby to your college, okay, a stationery shop, you can say. Now, whatever payment or whatever purchase you would have made, would you record it like purchases debit, like this Ravi's credit? No. What he'll do? He'll list all the expenses, okay, and he will deduct all these expenses from his income earned for that particular day. He may not follow the debit and credit concept. Then which system of bookkeeping would he be following? It is single entry system of bookkeeping where there is neither debit nor the credit aspect involved. Yes, so that is called as single entry system of bookkeeping. All of us follow double entry and some of them follow, as I told, single entry system of bookkeeping where there is neither debit nor credit aspect involved. So this forms the basis even of your tally software. And why all these concepts, why these assumptions are being explained to you this much in detail, because all of them have a binding on your tally program. Yes, they are directly rather indirectly connected with your tally program, right? So all of them, of course, you would have come across, but a much more kind of a revision, discussion, rather a refreshing session of all these concepts would place you in a better position when you learn the tally program. Okay, when we begin with that. The last aspect we have is the source documents for accounting. Simple. That time I just told about the verifiable and the objective evidence concept that every transaction has to be supported with a documentary evidence. Yes, so that evidence is nothing but a source document. It serves as an evidence that a business transaction has occurred. A source document contains details like the date of the transaction, the goods sold, amount, the party involved. So whenever you check out an invoice, what do you find mainly over there? The date of the transaction, the invoice number, the supplier's name and his address, the description of the goods, the value of the goods, the tax amount involved. That's nothing but CGST, SGST, right? All this forms part of an invoice. Now we have so many sources of documentary, which are bill or the tax invoice, check, credit note, debit note. Credit note actually is used for a sales return. Yes, to record or to account for the sales return, a credit note will be issued, while a debit note is for a purchase return. Of course, receipts, all of us know. Try to record any kind of receipt of any income, business income, we go for a receipt, a voucher for accounting of any expenses or accounting of any transactions. we use vouchers in a company, in a business setup. So all these are common sources of documents. We have so many documentary evidence, like apart from that also we have so many like agreements, trade agreements, lease agreements, rental agreements, business deeds. All these all form part of the source documents for rent. So what we have done here is we have covered all the basics of accountancy. Yes. This golden rules, of course, I would discuss it, but probably when we begin with the vouchers. Now, if I discuss, I think it will be too early because we have to start with the installation of the Tally software, and now it will start again. So, when we begin the entries passing in the Tally program, that I'm going to discuss with the golden rules. So, we had started with why account was introduced, what is the importance for the same, yeah, accounting terminologies, then accounting assumptions, concepts, and principles, and finally went with the source documents. So of course this would cover all the basics of your accountancy. So now I think we will go for the discussion of the Tally software, right? What it is about, how a Tally software works. So I hope all of you are ready for it. You know what is this, or what is that software? How do I define the software? So let's begin with the Tally discussion. Right. So it is Tally Prime. Yes. So the software which you're learning, in all these sessions is the Tally Prime software. Now, this Tally Prime software, what it is about? Who invented this software? A curious question. Yes, a small historical background of the Tally software. This Tally software was invented in the year 1986, and when it was invented in the year 86, it was named as Pewtronics. It was not called as Tally at the time. When in the year 86, rather it was defined as Pewtronics. And two main people, we have co-founders, I can say, we have Sham Sundar Goenka and Bharat Goenka. So these two were the ones who invented the Tally software. Sham Sundar and Bharat Goenka, father and son, who invented the Tally software. When they invented it was called as Putronics. What happened? After 2 years, this software from Putronics it was renamed as Tally. After 2 years exactly, in the year 1988, it was renamed as Tally, and even till today, it is defined, it is named as Tally only. There is no change in the name. And very important for all of us to know from where this software is supplied. Who is the supplier of this software? Which is that company? Yes, it is an Indian multinational company which supplies the Tally software. So I've given here the company which supplies the software is Tally Solutions Private Limited. Yes. So this is the company which supplies the software. What is it? Tally Solutions Private Limited, which is an Indian multinational company. And this is one more important information. Where is this company headquartered in? Where is it situated? It is headquartered in our own Bangalore, Bengaluru, Karnataka. Yes, it is headquartered in Bangalore. If you are aware of Hongasandra, Hosur main road, so it is situated there. It's situated in Hongasandra, Bangalore. So, and this is a company which supplies the software all over India. So, from our own Bangalore, it is supplied all over India. I think even overseas also. Why? Because it is also adapted there. But the clarity here is if they follow the same accounting principles as we follow, right? The debit and credit aspects, the gap principles is what we follow. If we follow the same accounting principles, of course, for them also it is accessible. Otherwise, perhaps it may not be of much use for them. So if the same accounting principles are being followed, they also use TallyPrime software. So it is not only for the whole country it is supplied, but also overseas as well. And it is the number one accounting software even till date. Tally software. Okay, so this is a small historical background to talk of the Tally software. Yes. So before it was upgraded as Tally Prime, we had Tally ERP9. Probably if you would be aware of that ERP9 or you would have heard, or even though you have not heard, you have not been aware of it, it's fine. We had as ERP9, Tally ERP9 for all these years. Okay, we had different versions of the same. It started from the version of 4.5. The last version was 6.5.2. Release 6 was the last version of ERP9. Then in the last year, I think it is November 20, right? That time it was upgraded from Tally ERP9 to Tally Prime the last year, especially November 20. It was upgraded to the Tally Prime, and from then on, even till today, it is a Tally Prime software. And I have given you the list of releases here. The first release was release 1, then it got upgraded to 1.1, then 1.1.1, then 1.1.2, then 1.1.3, then 1.1.4, and now the current release of the Tally Prime software, what we are all accessing, we would be using is release 2. Yes, so it is the release 2 of the Tally Prime software we will be installing now, and you would see that. Yes, I will show you where you can watch out the current release of the TallyPrime software. Okay, so this is a small discussion of the various versions of both ERP9 and Prime. So you just focus on TallyPrime. Anyways, ERP9 has been upgraded to the TallyPrime software. Yeah. Now the important aspect comes. How do I define the TallyPrime? What kind of a software it is? How to define? Now you'll be doing a tally course, you're pursuing a tally program. What is it? What is it about? Now if I say C, C++, of course we have the programming language, we have Python, we have Java, we have the MS Office tools, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. But what is Tally? You say Tally is a software, but what kind of a software? That is important for us. Yeah. So Tally is an accounting software. Tally is an accounting software. It is a business management software. It is an application software. So there are three aspects or three phases of the Tally. It is the accounting software, a business management software, and it is an application software. That's what I've given here. That Tally is the most reputed and the oldest accounting software. It is a business management software that takes care of all the accounting aspects. It can be sale, purchase, receivable, payable, tracking of costs, stock or inventory management, the bank transactions, the statutory compliance. Okay, all these will be taken care of a Tally Prime software. Okay, so it is like a one-stop solution to all the problems of an accountant. What what kind of benefit it would provide for an accountant, for a user of TallyPrime software. It says there is a simplification of a decision making process for the business owners. Yes, there is simplification of decision making process. What is the reason behind it? How can I simplify my decision making? Now, the question comes that in this software, I can pass the entries. I have to pass the entries. But the question comes here, do I also have to prepare the reports, the financial statements? Yes or no? It is no. Tally would generate the financial statements, reports, once I have put up the entries of my business. So I have no, workload, or I have no tension of preparing any financial statements. I just need to prepare the appropriate ledger, pass the entries, and ultimately I get my reports generated instantly in the Tally program. That's one of the phenomenal, I can say, benefit or the boon which is from Tally Prime software. Second is it enables a business entity to make their decisions on the basis of reports generated. Now, when reports are generated instantly, I can have a balance sheet, my profit and loss account, my cash flow statement, even a ratio analysis report. So many reports are there. Once you start accessing, you can witness it. So my reports are readily generated, readily available, so I can easily analyze my business, position, financial position, and on that basis, I can easily take up the business decisions. So it saves a lot of time. There is no time consumption here. And what kind of reports would a Tally software generate? Financial reports, yes. Cash flow reports, cost center reports, inventory reports, accounting reports, even a statutory report, many more detailed reports, which can help a business to arrive at its business decisions. The fourth, it caters to the business needs of small, medium, and the large scale enterprises. So here, Tally Prime software is accessible not only for a large scale or big multinational company, from a small, medium, up to a large scale enterprise, Tally would cater to everybody's business needs. So it's highly flexible. Anybody can access it, anybody can use that, right? So from a small, medium, up to a large scale, Tally is easily accessible or flexible to all kind of size of a business enterprise. It helps the generation of invoices. Yes, that will also be done by all of us once we start passing the entries, and you would practically visualize like how the invoices are generated. Yes. So the tax invoices, the bills will be easily generated, can be generated in the Tally Prime software. Yes. So I can say, as I told, it's a one solution for all the accounting problems, for all accounting entries, data. So let's all of us download the Tally Prime software now. I hope all of you are ready to download the Tally Prime software. So what you have to do is in the Google Chrome, the search engine, just a minute. Yes. So in the Google Chrome search engine, all of you need to type this Tally Prime download. Please do type it like this, Tally Prime download. Once you type as Tally Prime download, press enter. You get a number of options here. You have to select the first one, download Tally Solutions. Yes. So you get this screen. I hope all of you have got this screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, here you can easily witness that what is the release we are currently using. Tally Prime release 2. Just now I discussed, right? What is the current version? What is the current release we're using of Tally Prime software? It is released. Yes. Right? Now, before downloading, okay, I would like to give you certain information of Tally software. Now, here you have buy now and you have as a download. Buy now means if you would like to purchase the software, you can go for it. You can become a licensed user where you can make the online payment, or if you want the company itself to install the software, they can do it, or any of the centers who are into the Tally software business, they can also install the software once you have the intention to purchase the same, to pay the requisite amount. Now here, if you go for a download software, okay, it will cost around like 25, 26. So with the GST, probably you have a amount. So here you have a download option also. So if I have to purchase a software, I'll go for buy now. Or if I want to access a free version, a trial version, educational version of the Tally Prime software, I can go for the download. Okay. So if I go for the download, I can go or download the trial version, which is easily accessible by everybody. Anybody can access. Of course, we have certain limitations in the trial version or the educational version, which you will come to know as soon as we access the software. I would be communicating to you. Right now, if I tell, of course, there will not be any clarity. But download is a free version, buy now is a licensed version. So before downloading the software, if you can observe at the bottom, now what is the configuration required? What is the OS operating system required for the installation of Tally software? It is Windows 7 or a later version. If you have the older version of Windows, older than 7, obviously it will not take. It is Windows 7 or later than that. And what is the configuration? It is a 64-bit. In case you have a 32-bit, if you can check out in the Windows, of course, properties, if it is 32-bit, you can't install the Tally program. It has to be 64-bit, and a 64-bit processor. Now, this would be useful for all of you, perhaps, if you have your laptops, the desktop. What is the configuration required for installing Tally Prime software? Extremely important for all of you. Can you see here? There is a blue option here. Here, configuration, recommended system configuration here. If you just click on that here, yes. So here you can get the complete configuration. What is it given here? Recommended system configuration for Tally Prime. This for all of you to be very useful, that what is the exact configuration required. What is the processor? 1.8 gigahertz 64-bit processor, and what kind? It can be Core 2 dual core processor, Core i3, i5, i7, or above. Most important, how much RAM is required? Minimum 4 GB. So 4 GB or more RAM is required for the installation of Tally Prime. Hard disk, what's the free space? It has to be 150 MB free space to install the application. This excludes the space required to store the company data. So remember, that's 150 MB. Next is What is a monitor resolution? So I get a lot of questions that can we install the Tally software in our phone? No. Yes, this is the answer for this. Monitor resolution. So the resolution required for the use for the installation of a program, Tally program is 1366 into 768. So this is the monitor resolution required for the installation of the Tally Prime software. And most important, what is the OS? Now we have Unix, Linux, Mac, so all this, but for the installation of TallyPrime software, which is the exact OS required, it is Windows. Version 7 or later. So it's given a 64-bit edition of Microsoft Windows 7, Windows Server 2008 R2 or above, including Windows 11. That's also acceptable. And other MS Office software, 64-bit edition of MS Office software such as Excel, Word, and so on. So this is the configuration recommended for the installation of Tally Prime software. If you have all these things, you can easily install. If you don't have, make sure you make the necessary arrangement for the same so as to get the recommended configuration, and then you can install the Tally Prime software. Right, so let's go back for the installation window. Right, right. So what all of us have to do here is, you see there is a yellow icon here. Download it is being given. Okay, download option is being given here. So what you have to do is, you have to click on the download only once. Just click on the download once. Yeah. So there is a setup.exe file. Can you see where the pointer is? On the left hand corner, the bottom, we have the setup.exe file. Once you get the setup.exe file, give a single click on that. Now there's a question comes, do you want to allow the following program to make changes to this computer? Yes. Wait for a few seconds. Okay. Now, for me, it's coming as update because I'm having the older version. Now, for all of you, is this screen appearing? Tally Prime Setup Manager, configure more actions. You would be having install actually. Yes. Uh, so I hope you're getting the screen. Configure more actions and install you'll be having. If it is installed, you can click on the install option. Okay. For me, it's coming as update as I have to update to the current version. For all of you, it will be installed. So click on install. I will here go for the update.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hope all of you have got this.
I have a query.
Yes.
I have a Mac OS, so it won't support Tally Prime, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I showed you the configuration, right? So what is the Windows version? So if you have that, you can easily install the Tally program because apart from Windows, you cannot go for any other OS for the installation of Tally Prime software. Now, have you got the screen Start Tally Prime or yes?
Um,
Uh, my internet bandwidth doesn't support the download yet because I'm in the meeting. It'll take me a while to actually download it. So, do we need it today itself, or are we going to start with the software tomorrow?
No, I would install. I would start a bit. Probably can make the necessary arrangements by tomorrow's session. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
yeah. What about the rest? All of you have successfully got this Start Tally Prime in your
Yes,
screens.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, actually, we live in PG and we don't have laptop here. So I guess laptop will come after 2 to 3 days. So I cannot be used to do it today, ma'am.
Not an issue, but please make the necessary arrangements. But keep a track of your classes. So once you get your laptops ready for use, install and whatever has been covered so far in the classes, you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
make it
Yes,
up.
ma'am.
Okay? Yeah. That's done.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other doubt before we begin start Tally Prime? Okay. So now what we'll do, we'll click on the Start Tally Prime.
Hmm.
Yes, Paul.
I'm not able to start that. So how can I do exactly?
I think your voice is little not clear. Speak a bit loud. I think it will be better.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now? Can you hear me now, ma'am?
yeah, yeah. Now I can hear
No,
you. Tell
actually,
me.
I am not able to do that. So can you again explain the process? How do I start that, like the tele, the tally
Now,
prime?
oh, okay. So have you got the screen that
Okay,
Tally
so I
Prime
just
download?
wanted to ask it
Hmm?
how, like,
No, have you got the screen as download here?
yes,
Hmm?
yes, I got that green now. Yes.
Okay. Now you have the download option here, right?
Yes, ma'am, I'm able to like get the screen. What is the next step that I need to do?
So you click on the download option,
Yes,
and you get at the bottom, if you can observe in my screen, setup.exe will come at the bottom left hand side. In my screen, you can see that option, setup.exe. Did you get that? Once you click on the download, you get immediately get a setup.exe, a drop down file. And what you have to do is you have to click on that, and you get an option like this. Do you want to allow the following program to make changes to this computer? So what you should do is you should type as yes. Okay. So once you type as yes, you get a screen like this. Now here I'm getting as alter because I've already installed the Tally Prime. For you it will come as configure more actions install. So what you have to do is you have to select the install option. Okay. So once you select the install option, now here of course I can't go for the alter or more actions because I'm already having the software. Once you go for the install option, you get start Tally Prime. Click on start Tally Prime, and in a few seconds the software will be open. So all of you have got this. Continue in education mode, use license from the network, reactivate the existing license and activate the new license.
excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
I was able to download it, but I did not get this option. Instead, I've got this option where it's like application startup, and the
Ah.
two options are configure and accept.
Application startup configure and
Accept. So,
so you
what do I
go,
choose? Accept?
yeah, accept.
Yes, ma'am. I got the option that you were talking about.
You got it. Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, pa.
I have this Tally ERP 9 already installed on my system because it's for
Ah,
office use. So will it be a
ah.
problem if I work on it for practice?
Will it be a problem?
If I work on it for practice, like this is for office purpose already installed on the system.
No, yeah. ERP9 is as I told, ERP9 is upgraded to the Tally Prime. So what happens is now if you go for the upgradation, is the Tally ERP9 owned? Is it a licensed one?
Yes, ma'am.
So then I think you have to make necessary arrangements. Why? Because if it is a licensed user of ERP9, probably I think your company has to upgrade to Prime. If it pays necessary upgradation fees, probably it can upgrade to Tally Prime software. So you need not download it if it is a licensed user. Why? Because what we're downloading it is a trial version. So it would be a problematic if you're having a licensed version and downloading a trial version. What will happen is it will replace the Tally Prime trial version for a licensed version of ERP9. So what you can do is probably can communicate to the concerned person and probably he can upgrade the Tally Prime software, or if any other system or laptop is there present for your practice, there easily can install a trial version. That would be better. Okay.
Actually, I have another laptop, but it has Mac OS, so that's why.
Your what?
I have another laptop, but with Mac OS. So how do I?
So that's what as I told. If you have to go for the Tally Prime software, the only way is probably the company has to upgrade for it, which has to pay the upgradation fees.
Oh,
Then it can reactivate with the existing license because it's already a licensed user, right?
yes.
Otherwise, the only option is you have to go because what happens is if you go for a trial version, it will replace, substitute the ERP9 in the trial version. That should not happen. In case you're having already a licensed version, so better you can make the necessary arrangements to get the licensed version of Tally Prime itself. I think it would be
Oh,
possible.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it's showing application startup. Confirm
Ah,
and accept. Which one should I click, ma'am?
confirm.
Configure.
No, no, not configure. Accept, accept.
Accept. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So I'm just waiting that all of you have come to the screen because I want to move together successfully. Otherwise, one is left behind. That should not happen. All of you have got the screen, license screen, and the Tally Prime software.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's begin then. Okay. Yes. So here, I think all of you have got the screen. Continue education mode. Use license from the network. Reactivate the existing license. Activate the new license. Yes. Now we have four options here. So what we have to do is, well, just a second. So I think for Ayush, I've given the replies for Mac OS, and Vaishnavi, in case we meet in future, I don't know what clarity would be. No issue, Sharika. You have to join due to connectivity. Fine, not an issue. It's a first class. It's fine. You can patch up for the session.
That was the reply was regarding your question you asked previously.
Which one?
When people were unmuting, I left an answer in the chat box.
Okay. Man, I could just view for it. So I just thought I would just make a reply for all that because I was on the screen, right? So couldn't go for it. Yeah. Right. So let's continue here. Now we have options as continue in educational mode, use license from LAN, reactivate and activate. Now, as I told, now we are downloading the trial version, educational version, a free version. So we have to always go for continuing in the educational mode because I'm using a free version. And I would request everybody that please do mute yourself because it will cause a disturbance for the others. If you have any questions to raise, then you can unmute and again mute. I think some vehicle noise I'm hearing. I think who is in the unmute. So make sure, please do mute yourself. Yeah, it's my humble request. Yeah. Right. So we have continued education mode and all that. So now what happens is, since I'm using a trial version or education version, I go for the continued education mode. Suppose I have purchased, there was a buy now option, right? So if I've purchased the software, okay, I will be given a username or user ID and a password. Okay, with that username and password, I can activate the new license by selecting this. Okay, yeah, so activate the new license. Suppose I have gone for the upgradation, let's say from ERP 9 to TallyPrime software, or I have upgraded with certain new features, then I can go for the reactivate the existing license. Is that clear? Reactivate the existing license. Suppose I'm using license from the net local, that is local area network, right? LAN. In case if I'm using a license from the network, that's LAN, then I can go for use license from the network. So we have four options. Okay. So this you have to capture it. Continue in education mode, use license from network, reactivate and activate. Only these four options would appear when you begin the TallyPrime software. Okay. So since we're using a free version or a trial version, we can go for continue in educational mode. So you can click on that. Continue in educational mode. This one. Enter or click on that. Now for me, since I've upgraded from ERP 9 to Prime, or if you've directly gone for Tally Prime, of course you get a select company list. So this screen you need not worry. You'll get a select company list, which I would show you now. Just a
Excuse me, ma'am.
minute. Yep.
Ma'am, I had to rejoin, but could you just explain the previous step where we had the four options?
Continue education mode part. That you select.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now all of yeah, welcome. Now all of you have got the select company option now. My company, of course, there are two companies already open, but for you to be blank, okay. So all of you have got this list of companies menu, and at the top you have select company. Okay. So this is the first screen which you will see in the TallyPrime software. Okay. Now here, let's begin with the first step of creating a company in the TallyPrime software. Now, to ease your program, I can say the TallyPrime software is completely a keyboard language. We don't use that. We don't use the mouse itself. There is no use of mouse. I can say this next to rarity. It's completely a keyboard language. Why? Because if you have the access to both your mouse and keyboard, little confusion is bound to happen. So have the habit, or if you're used to mouse, use only mouse or only keyboard. So don't go for both because you have a confusion in the accessing the TallyPrime software. It's a personal, I can say, an opinion. Now, what you do is you have to select create company. Now, to move up and down in the keys, in the features, what all of you can do is you can use the navigation keys which are there in your keyboard. You have right, up, down, left, and right, the navigation keys that you can use. Okay, so I'm
Yes,
using the
ma'am.
same. So what you can do is select create company, or if you're comfortable with the mouse, click on create company. Press enter on that. Create company. Right. I hope all of you have got this company creation screen. Right. Is the first
Ma'am,
step
can you
we
repeat it
take.
again? Can you show again, ma'am?
Yeah, not an issue. You have got the select
Yes,
company
ma'am.
now here. Here at the top you have create company here. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Press enter on that one. Now company creation screen has come. Okay. Now before giving all the details, at the top you can observe. Now don't do anything to this. That the company data part, what you are seeing here, right? Please don't make any harm for this. I'll tell you the reason. What is this data part? It is showing as C drive, right? C is the drive, C is the data path where whatever company you would have created, whatever data you would have stored, all will be available in that company data path. C is the drive. Okay. When it is useful is suppose you have to take up the backup of your files to transfer to some other software or for any reason. Okay, to know where the company data is stored, where the company created is stored, it is the C drive. Okay, which is very important for you, the company data part. That we will cause no harm. We are not going to touch that. Now we are in the company name. Okay, so company name, all of you can come to that company name. Okay, and here you can type the name of your company, whatever name you want to give, you can give. Probably your future business venture, your dream company, choice is yours. Okay, so I'll give here as Tally Prime Professionals. Okay, so once you type the name of the company, there is one more key which we commonly use in Tally. One I've told you, the navigation key is to move up, down, left, and right. One more is to step down, which means what? To move down like this. What you have to do is you have to press enter. Press enter, you will come down. If I have to move up, go back to the company name. What I have to do? I have to use the backspace option, which is there in your keyboard. Backspace to move up, enter to come down. Backspace, enter, and the navigation keys. These three only will give you the complete grip on the Tally program. Okay. So now what you do is type the address of the company. Now, address need not be stuffed in one line only. You have seen in forms, right? 3, 4 lines are liberally given. Address line 1, address line 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that, aram se 4, 5 lines you take to type the address. Okay. So I'll just give you as I'll give it in short. You can observe. See, first line, second line, third line, fourth line. So I keep on pressing enter. I can go by line by line. And pin code need not be given the address. Pin code we have a separate place after country. Okay. So once we give as Bangalore, okay, press enter. So Tally will liberally give you a couple of lines. So just press enter, enter, and you have to come to the state. Okay. Now in the state, now in which state are we in? Karnataka, right? So I will not type the complete name of the state. Now before giving the name of the state, I think hope all of you are done with the address lines. Okay. So now if we come to the state, as I told, I'm not typing Karnataka. What I'll do is KA. That's all. Can you see that? Karnataka gets highlighted. Just press enter, only press enter to select the state. Press enter, the state gets selected. Now you can give the pin code. Okay, 560011 I've given. Telephone is the landline number of the company. So you can give the telephone number. Mobile, of course, the mobile number. In case of fax smile is there, right? Fax machines, fax number can be given. If it is not there, you can just press enter and come to the email. Now you can give the email of the company.
Ma'am, for the numbers, can we just give the random phone numbers or?
Anything is okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Anything is done. Anything is done. So for your
Ma'am, can
knowledge
you
updation,
explain the state again?
state is now. Have you got this list of states?
Uh,
Yeah.
I have got it.
That's all. Karnataka, you've selected. Press enter on that. That's all.
Okay.
Now, website of the company. So once you type the website, don't make any changes, no more updations. Just press enter, 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 enter till you get the accept yes. All of you are done with the details. Very good.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
of you have got this accept yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Superb, superb. Now, this is how we save changes. Now, in Excel, Word, and all, we go to File, Save, Save As, right? In Tally, how do we save the changes? It is accept, yes or no. So, if we press Enter, we will accept the company creation. So, press Enter, my company gets created. And once your company gets created, the company features screen will open up. What you're seeing here, company created successfully, enable the features. Now here again, we are not going to do any changes, any updations. Company features, I will be explaining in the next session in a much more detailed way. As of now, to save this feature, what you can do is just press Control and A, Control plus A, Control plus A, you come back to the gateway of Tally screen. This is the Tally main screen which you see. All of you have come to this gateway of Tally screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Very good. So today we have downloaded the software, we have created the company. Okay. So in the next class, that's tomorrow, we will continue with the session. That's company. We have certain so many applications to be done for the same. So now all of you have successfully come till here. I hope no issues from any side.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
No,
done. Super. Now, how do we close the program? Okay, this is a master key to close your Tally software. So, how do you do it? There is only one key in your keyboard. Escape. ESC is there, right? At the top left hand side, escape key. Press escape. What option do you get now? Quit. Yes, which means you have to close the software. Tally will ask. So what do I do to accept? I press enter. So if I press enter, my Tally software will get closed. So all of you are able to close the Tally Prime software.
Yes, ma'am.
Super, yeah, super. So this is how we have created the company for the today's session. So the next session, as I told, we'll continue with the new concepts in the Tally program. Okay. So shall we close the session for the day? For today's day?
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any? Okay.
Ma'am, I didn't
So
get the accept, ma'am.
accept
After the
accept.
website.
Press enter enter enter. You get
Okay.
the accept screen back. You will get it. Once you get it, press enter. You will accept it, and then your company gets created. Did you get it?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
That's it. So then what do you do is you get the company created successfully, company features screen. Yes,
It's loading.
I think it's a little slow. So what you can do is you can just press Control A. Remember
Okay.
that. Control A
Control A.
to Control A to save the features. Then
Yes,
you
ma'am.
would come to the gateway of Tally.
Yeah.
Okay. And now just
Okay.
press Escape key. Once you press Escape key, it'll ask you whether you want to quit.
Yeah.
So just press enter and you can close the Tally software.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, most welcome.
Ma'am, after
So yes,
uploading the website, is
huh,
when you click on Control and A, no, ma'am?
huh.
So you don't have to
Anyhow,
change the dates and all that, right? Or
no, nothing to change. I don't just put up the website. We're not making
okay, ma'am.
any changes. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. So after the website, I create Control A.
Yeah. Press
Okay.
Control A or enter, accept yes. Anything is okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Ma'am, what
Yes.
exactly is Control A used for? Like, what are you exactly doing when you press a Control A?
Control A is to save the changes, save the information.
Okay,
How we use enter
so it's just
in the
save.
same way we use, huh?
So
In the
it
same way we
just
use
saves
Control A.
whatever you've done so far.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, thank you so much.
ma'am, after
Yes.
installing Tally, I'm getting two
Huh.
options to configure your existing license or search for Tally Gateway service.
No, you get the gateway of Tally screen.
Yes, ma'am.
So to close the program, you were asking is it?
Ma'am, open. To open, it's coming like select an option by pressing enter, and there are two options to configure your existing license or search for Tally Gateway server.
No, no, no. To install the software, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have to go for the install option. Configure. No, you have to go for the install option to install the
Okay.
TallyPrime software.
Okay.
Ma'am, now there's one more thing that's opened up. It says company created successfully.
Huh.
So what do I click on now, ma'am?
Now Control A.
Okay, ma'am.
Control A you click, then you get the
Okay,
gateway
ma'am.
of Tally screen, and then you can press the
Escape
escape
and
key.
enter.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Pa.
There was a little problem on my end. I didn't hear what you said that we were supposed to write next to website.
Huh. So just
What are we supposed to?
press Control A or press Control A. That's better for you because now if I tell code as enter, probably have to show the screen. You can just press Control A. Your company would get created.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So shall we end up today's session for the day?
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
So had a good session
Ma'am,
with
can
all
we
of
end the
you.
meeting?
Yeah, yeah, we can end the meeting because there was a doubt session. So it would not be good to end the meeting in between.
Okay, okay.
So we'll
Thank
end
you,
the
ma'am.
session for the day. Okay.
Ma'am, attendance?
Yeah, attendance of course would be given to you, would
Okay.
be taken by me. Okay. So
Okay,
had
ma'am.
a nice session with you. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank